Welcome to day one of Beginner Tarot. We are starting right at the beginning with card 0, the Fool. And most easily described, the Fool is a card of spontaneity. It's a card of new beginnings, innocence, and trusting your gut. I like to use this example from Alice in Wonderland to describe the Fool because I think it's a great description and makes it pretty simple. Alice asked the Cheshire Cat, who was sitting in a tree, "What road do I take?" The cat asked, "Where do you want to go?" "I don't know," Alice answered. Then said the cat, "It doesn't really matter, does it?" The Fool is setting off on this journey, and it doesn't matter which path the Fool takes, because the Fool simply trusts that their instincts will lead them in the right direction and they'll end up in just the right place at the right time. The Fool is at the start of the tarot journey, and we follow the Fool through the entire tarot deck. The Fool's a traveler, kind of like a hitchhiker, who waits, hoping someone will stop and pick him or her up. Whoever the person is that stops is always going to be the right person. The Fool's relying on fate to step in and bring the people into their life that were meant to be there. The Fool will often venture off into the unknown, regardless of what other people think. The Fool's not concerned about the opinions of others. In the traditional Rider-Waite tarot deck, we see the Fool carrying this little tiny bag, and we wonder, how does the Fool manage to get around with that little? But the Fool has gotten very good at knowing exactly what they need for their journey, and they're not concerned with material possessions, so they don't need to carry a lot with them. The Fool carries this bag on a stick. Well, it certainly looks like a stick, but this is actually a wand that the Fool picked up on the side of the road. Except the Fool doesn't know it's a wand. The Fool just thinks it's a stick. So the Fool tosses the bag on, throws it over their shoulder, and off they go. Right beside the Fool is this cute little dog. That's their trusted companion. The person that's always there, the one that they can talk to and trust advice from. And the Fool is a very funny and charming person. They often enjoy just talking with people, getting to learn new things, and they make friends very easily. But the Fool's on a journey, and the Fool moves on just as quickly as they made those friends. Some decks display the Fool as the character of a joker or a jester. And if we think about a jester in terms of a king's court, we often think of someone who is just making jokes and entertaining people. But there's two really important considerations to think about the role of a joker or a jester. One is someone who provides an escape for the mind, an escape to stop focusing on just what you can see in front of you, and trust that sometimes there's things that you can't see that will lead you to believe that you can do more in life. The second role of a joker or a jester is to be the comedian who whispers truths to the king under the guise of a joke. So while it seems foolish that anybody would say these things to the king, the Fool has that art of persuasion and knows just the right way to say those truths without making themselves seem foolish or without upsetting anybody. The Fool is someone who's open to all possibilities that life has to offer, and therefore the Fool often ends up in exactly the right place at just the right time. The Fool is someone who's completely balanced. They're fine right where they are, and they're happiest with meeting new people and gaining new experiences in life. The Fool moves forward without thinking most of the time because they trust their instincts to get to exactly where they need to be. When the Fool is reversed, I like to explain it in terms of Elvis as, well, quoting Elvis, I suppose, when he says, "Only fools rush in," because when you're looking at the Fool in a reversed manner, you want to make sure that you're carefully considering your options and that you truly are making the best choice and that you're not making a foolish choice. So when you see the Fool upright in a reading, Trust your instincts. There's a new opportunity that may be presenting itself to you that you should take a risk on. You don't need a whole lot of material possessions to be happy. Sometimes you'll find that when you stop looking so hard, what you want and what you need is actually right in front of you and very easy to achieve. Trust that you will end up where you are meant to be, and that it's okay if sometimes you don't quite know where you're going. So to look at a few different images of the Fool and analyze them a little bit. This is another one that I like. It's a very similar image of the Fool, but instead of being depicted as a masculine character, this one is depicted as a female character who still has that wand that she carries with her. Her hair is kind of flowing in the air. She doesn't really, care what it looks like, not too concerned, maybe a little bit disheveled. And she's kind of taking that same step where it looks like she's going to fall right off the edge of that cliff. But again, the Fool is trusting that they know exactly where they're going and they're not actually going to fall, right? When we look at this image of the Fool, we see that it's actually pretty similar. She's taking that same step where she's going to fall off the edge of the cliff, but we think, well, maybe those butterflies are going to stop her from falling, right? Maybe they're going to catch her and lift her up and carry her to where she needs to be. This is a version of the Fool depicted as a baby dragon, representing that innocence in the Fool like a new baby would have, right? This is another version of the Fool. We see that she's also, it appears that she's going to step right off the edge of that cliff, right? And she has those white doves that are there to possibly pick her up and carry her along so that she doesn't fall. And she has her trusty fox sitting right there next to her instead of the dog in this case. This is one of my favorites. This is actually a depiction of the Fool as a hitchhiker, right? Waiting in the road with just that small knapsack and his trusty friend next to him, waiting for just the right person to come along and lead him to where he needs to be. And just for fun, we have the Hocus Pocus tarot deck with the Fool represented as Max Dennison lighting that black flame candle, because clearly there is some innocence there to Max not knowing the full story of what's going on behind the Sanderson sisters and not really knowing if that black flame candle is true. So he's going to go ahead and take a risk and light that. So hopefully this gave you a little bit more insight into what the card of the Fool means. And I hope that you will continue following me through the tarot deck and learn a little bit more about tarot.